It's always kind of slow. Maybe I just need to refresh it real quick. And also start recording, because why not? Yeah, chat's been a little slow to load in today. Look, I'm loving Restream, but the chat plugin is kind of busted. Let's try to reload it one more time. Now that YouTube's also finally getting my stuff. Hello everybody, maybe Restream will now also show me your messages. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? That would be ideal, you could even say. I don't think it is going to. To which I will... I think I can just go to Restream, like the website, and it will show me my live chat as well. Because my stuff is not working otherwise. That much is for damn sure. So yeah, right here I think it kind of shows it to me. Can I pop this out? Like, that would be... I don't think I can. This is actually like the worst UI ever. Who made this? I guess it's better than nothing though. Which is what I have at the moment in OBS. So just give me a moment. Maybe it'll catch up. Maybe not. I would ask how is everybody doing while I wait for Restream to fix itself, but obviously that's kind of an exercise in pointlessness because I can't read your answers. So it's kind of an issue. Maybe I needed to like fully close it. Okay, yeah. It's back now. It works. I just needed to properly close it. Can I dock it now, please? I want to dock this. I want to dock this on the right hand side here. Come on, I did this before as well. God damn it. I can read you guys' chats now. It just won't dock in the actual... Okay, there we go. It won't dock when it's full screen. It only docks when I make it minimized or what is this even called? Not minimized, but like small screen. Anyway, that was an adventure for the first couple of minutes there. Technical difficulties aside, we're going to have other technical difficulties, but that's just to do with my programming. I've got my code up here. I added a couple of to-do things, which I figured out that there is actually like a built-in to-do feature in Writer as well. I haven't really looked into it, but assumedly I can get a list of all my to-dos from the entire project, from each specific file. I don't know. So after last week, where we ended off with finally being able to save the state of all of the cards in the game. Let me just show you what I mean by that. I also added a couple of new cards, and it's going to immediately pick up on those new cards as well, which is quite nice. We have this list here of every single card in the game with their amount sold. Yeah, that's right. You're going to say, that doesn't seem right. No, that is right. I did change that. And then every single one of these cards is going to have a value. That value is going to change every 90 seconds by a percentage. We made some code for that. And when I save the game, which is in here somewhere. So yeah, the F key saves the game, G key loads the game. So when I now... load the game, if I can be in... Oh yeah, that's not ideal maybe. Probably should have thought about that. Anyway, when I load the game, we just loaded something. It says card save data length 33. That should have been larger than 33 now. That should have been 40. It only... No, that's fair, because it only loaded the 33 it already had. I have 40 cards now in total, but if I save now and I load again, so if I save and load again, it should crash. I guess I tried to access a thing that didn't exist, and that's what crashed it, right? So that would be in save game, CPP 50. So that's somewhere in here. That's kinda save data value we make. Okay, that's kind of weird. I fully expected that to be a problem, but not for this reason. Okay, we'll look into that first. I was going to say, everything works, except that I didn't. This also seems like an issue that we probably shouldn't put too much effort into fixing, because once all the cards are in place, there's never going to be an issue where you're like trying to save over a save that has less cards, unless I decide to. There's actually like a bigger issue somewhere. That's because this is still open. That's fair. There's never gonna be an issue where I try to like save over a save slot that already has like 30 cards saved in it with a save slot that has like 40 cards saved in it, because this is just to do with the like asset list. This is not to do with any specific inventory or whatever. This is just a list of all the assets, and once all the assets are in place, well, all the assets will be in place. So we won't be running into this. Then again, if I at some point in the future want to like add more cards to this game, it's probably a good thing to have something that doesn't crash the game when I want to do that. So when I try to save and then load, now the save card length is 40. If I try to save again and load again, okay, that just fixes it. I don't know why it crashed before. But now, okay, so we've got 40 cards. Between streams, I added a couple more. So we've got the... I think I like added a ghoul and like a ghost and a zombie. I actually... Oh, I already had a ghost, I think, right? Yeah. I added a couple more, so we're up to 20 on the Dark Horrors pack as well. We've got 20 in the base pack. I'm going to add like 2 or 3 more packs in total. And then maybe like a smaller like secret pack that is like very rare to get. But for now, the way that I want to move forward with the stream is to touch up this code a little bit. Because I actually realized that the save file or the save object is going to need to have a couple of different things happening to it. Which is to say... it's at the moment only loading the assets data, which is fine. I haven't tested it out in a packaged version of the game yet, so this might still crash. I should have tried that out before starting the stream, actually. A little bit too late for that now. It doesn't, however, yet save the in-game inventories. Most importantly, the player, but then also like the chest and eventually the display cases that we're going to be making. It should also save those. So I was thinking maybe make the save game object a member variable so that we don't have to regenerate it every single time we save the game, first and foremost. We can just make it on begin play and then access it throughout our playthrough. And then I don't actually know if that is relevant now. I'm trying to explain it. Because I was going to say, and then the player can access it on its own whenever it like updates its inventory. But I don't know that that's necessary. Okay, yeah, I maybe don't have to do that. Because whenever we save the game, we just need to grab the player instead, I think. And get its inventory component. And then the same for every single other thing in the game with an inventory. Okay, yeah, I've got an idea. So we're not actually going to make this a member variable because there's no real reason to do that. Aside from other objects accessing it and then adding their own stuff to it. But then does that every single time that happens? Does that save the game? That doesn't feel good. When we save the game, we just grab the data we need and we stuff it into the save game object. I think that makes the most sense. So make this asset save array thing into its own function. That's my next to do. We just should collapse this into its own function. Does Rider have something like collapse to function? No, I don't think it does, but that's not a big deal. We can just set this to be in save game. We can say void, or under save game rather, safeguard asset data, and that should probably take in the save game. Yes, because we need to have the save game instance because we're adding stuff to it. Then we can make a definition for that. And we simply say, hey, everything that is in here we just move to down there. And that should be entirely non-problematic because we can now just say after that save guard asset data, and the thing that we're giving in is the save game instance. We probably should rename this because it's not actually, I'm being pedantic to myself here. This is not actually saving anything. This is just putting it in the save object. It doesn't get saved until this. I have decided that I don't care. Okay, so next up we save the player's inventory. Which means that the save data object is going to need to have a way to save the player's inventory as well. So let's take a look at that first. I haven't really thought about this, if I'm being 1000% honest with you. We have the card save data for the arrays. I guess we only really need the card save data for the player inventory as well, right? We can just reuse that. So we can just say, hey, you property, again, T array of type F card save data, and this will be the player inventory. The issue is that I now also need to make an array that can have the inventories of multiple different storage objects in it. Gonna be a bit of a bitch, and this is also giving me objects stored in member chest inventory can be destroyed during garbage collection. Oh yeah, it needs to be U property, if nothing else, for like serializing it, I believe. Now this is gonna have other issues, right? Because it isn't hashed. Yeah. So that was the issue that we ran in last time. Alternatively, what I could do is I could make one very long array. I could hack this a little bit, right? Which I don't know if I want to do this, but I could just make one very long array which has everything in it. But then I need to make sure that it's getting loaded in the exact same order every time, and I don't know if I can guarantee that. So that's probably also not a good idea. Or I could just make this non-expandable, because I'm doing this as a little side project, and I probably shouldn't be overthinking this too much. So I could just, I'm only going to have the one chest. So at least for the chest, I can very easily say, hey, fcard save data, chest inventory. Just do it like this. And then the display cases, I guess what we can do is I can just have, once I've put in the display cases, they're going to have their own structure probably, because I also need to remember how much I'm trying to sell them for, I just realized. But I don't know that needs to be a different struct, right? If we go back to, I think it's in card asset, the card asset save data, or is it just in save? Yeah, here, card asset save data. As a value, the amount sold, and the asset path. Actually, we probably want to use something different for this, because this only needs the asset path. Yeah, this needs actually a different thing altogether. This only needs the asset path and the rarity. Yeah, so that's a very good point. Let's make it a ustruct actually. Just ustruct. Card slot save data. Start with U property asset path, and then U property is it E rarity? E card rarity. Oh, we need to include for that. Fair enough. Rarity. You cannot use a raw enum for time variables. Oh, t enum byte. Yeah, it's true. Keep forgetting that. T enum as bytes. E card rarity. Rarity. And then I guess, yeah, this is all we need for the inventory in the chest. And then for the display cases, I'll probably make another struct that just has this in it plus a sales value. So we make a like U struct f card sale save data. And that will have in it U property, F card slot save data, card slots. I have a good card game concept, but I'm making it such a hassle. I know, right? I know it's a pain. And I'm not even making a card game. I'm making a Tycoon game. And then float value. Yeah, so we can just... Yeah, so the way we're going to do that, I think, is just we're going to have... A very good question. How are we going to do that, actually? We're probably going to have an array with these, and then... I'll figure that out later. I don't really care for now, so let's just collapse this. For now, first the inventory. The player inventory. We probably should just make... this is the save game, by the way. We need to go to game mode. We probably should just make a member variable here to keep track of the player character. That's probably the best way to do this. Because we're going to give access every time we save, but also every time we load. And it's just a little bit messy to get player character every time in either situation. Just make it a member, right? I think that makes sense. So we'll put that in protected as well. Where are we going to put this? I guess in between these. So that is a... is it 2D character? We can make that a class. This has an inventory on it, right? Maybe not. Is it a 2D player? It's a 2D player. Hold the fuck on. A 2D player. And then in begin play here, we will set our oh no, don't weird spacing. Player character equals cast player character, get player character world 0. This needs to have an include. Right. Come on. Did it just add the include automatically now? It did. Still not happy that it does that, but also kind of happy that it does that. So now that has a value, so every time we want to access it, we can simply access it. I was thinking maybe I need to set up an interface to like provide the inventory component. But then I remembered that I'm only going to be doing this all from the game mode, so it actually straight up doesn't matter. So it'll probably be fine. That said, I do have an interface to do that, I believe, with open inventory. It's not quite the same, actually. It's the reverse. But again, it doesn't really matter. So we can somewhere in here we have load game. We'll worry about that later. Safeguard asset data. We already did that. Now save player inventory. So we can simply get a inventory component. So that would be a U inventory. Is it not a U? What is it again? What are components? No, it is U. I was right. I'm always right. U inventory component. Pointer. Player inventory is player character. Find component by class. Hell no. We have that include for a fucking reason, don't we? Wait, does player not have an inventory? Did I add that in Blueprint? Please tell me I didn't add that in Blueprint. Surely I didn't add that in Blueprint. If so, I'm going to go back and add it in C++. It's not that big a deal, but... player.h. Last input, movement, default mapping, context. Did I add that in Blueprint? What the fuck? I did. Let's fix that. Let's fix that real fucking quick. And move this over to the left-hand side. So, Let's actually add it on the 2D character. Yes. We're going to add that as a U property. Edit defaults only. Class U inventory component pointer inventory. No, let's add it to the player because the NPCs aren't going to need to have an inventory. Is chat delay that bad today? I mean, if it means that I'm somewhat stable with my internet connection at least, but just delayed, I will take it. Yeah, so let's add this to the player because I don't see the actual like NPCs needing an inventory. Sometimes they will like probably pick up a card that they want to buy, or they come in wanted to sell a card. Is the ID, but they don't need an entire ass inventory component for that. It's just like one slot. We can just make that as a like separate variable on them. They don't need an entire component. Because it's not like we need to keep track of that they have the card after we sell it to them, right? Like that's not a thing that they... Because the moment they walk out the door, they literally cease to exist. Which is a real fucking existential crisis of a sentence. But yeah, so we have the inventory component on the player. And then in the... Do we... No, do we not even have a constructor on this guy? We don't even have a constructor on this guy. Huh. Okay, let's add that. AA to the player. Apparently we didn't need it before now. Inventory. Create default sub-object inventory. That's going to need to get a include which is going to probably fuck up something somewhere because we're going to now replace what's a fucking problem. No, seriously though, what is your fucking problem? Usually at least it gives me some kind of indication as to where a problem exists. Right now it's just like, nah, I don't want to build. Like it starts yelling at me about this Microsoft Makefile target, but that's usually unable to build live coding while live coding is active. I don't know, man. Isn't like half the appeal of this fucking IDE the fact that I can... Oh, Invin is not a member of... Oh. You know what? That's fair enough. I didn't complete that. Then we don't use it, but I just want to check out the construction of the inventory itself. And then we'll go from there. So how's everybody doing today? Attempting to cast on that type that is not a U object or an interface. The fuck even are you talking about? Use of undefined type A character. Where? Where am I trying to use the A character class? The fuck are you talking about? What? No, actually though, what? So you inventory component, player inventory, character inventory. It has to be something to do with this, right? So player character. Cast to a 2D player. Do I need to cast it to specifically a pointer? I don't think so, right? Did I not make that a pointer? Is that the issue? No, I did. I definitely did. Yeah, I probably do make that a U property though. In this case, that actually does matter. But that does not really solve my issue here. I'm assuming it has to be this cast, because this is the cast that we added and now it starts bitching about casting. Use of undefined type A character. Aside from the fact that we have the A2... Oh, but that's not a child of character, never mind. So where am I trying to use character? I don't think I'm trying to use character anywhere. Where even does it pop up with my search term? Oh, all the way up there. Okay. Character. Are you liking Rider so far? It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not quite like God's gift to man, like people seem to like make it out to be, from what I can tell. Like it's pretty good. It's also like not that expensive, to be fair, right? So it's like you're paying a little bit of money for a little bit of extra comfort, but like I feel like people, when it comes to Rider, are like, oh, it changed my fucking life. I could never go back to Visual Studio. Rider is like at like a bare minimum for me these days, and I don't quite get that much, right? that seems a little extreme. But like I don't dislike it. I like it. I'm probably gonna keep it after my trial period ends. For the main game project. I'm gonna be moving forward with Rider, I think, because it is quite nice. It has a lot of like those quality of life features, like graying out stuff that's not used, being able to easily add in the includes as you go. Like those are very, very nice. What is not very, very nice is, I don't know, it does seem like it's a little bit less specific with showing errors, but that might just be because the errors that I'm getting in this specific project just have that issue. That might not be a Rider issue. I'm assuming that Visual Studio would have given me the exact same errors. So I don't think that I can like blame the IDE for that. I switched because I was paying for plugins in Visual Studio at equivalent price of Rider, and Rider had more stuff that I liked as well. That's fair. Like if Rider, I probably should try out Rider's AI assistant, because if Rider, that AI assistant that comes with it, is anywhere like near, and I've heard that it's not, but if that AI assistant is anywhere near Copilot's performance, Rider is just cheaper than Copilot. So, like that kind of settles that, right? Like even if it is not quite as good, but usable enough in comparison for my particular workflow, that is, I don't understand what the fuck is going on here. I'm going to be real with you. That will be enough for me. I'm just going to include like character. Like, do we have... Wait, can I... Am I going insane? Because it seems like... Is that in a different folder? Copilot, fix this for me. Include character.h. definitely not what I want though. Oh, it's in framework. Okay, so now that I've included that, it doesn't grey out. So it is actually using the character header file somewhere in here, but nothing in my game is a character. Right, player is a... maybe it is. Hold on. Because player is a child of a 2D character, and a 2D character is a child of pawn. Like, the actual character class doesn't factor into literally anything here. Oh, I'm an idiot. No, that's not gonna work. Okay, that's good that... Yeah, okay. I'm trying to get player character. Obviously. I mean, that class isn't even gonna work because it's trying to get player character. I should be trying to get player pawn. I'm just so used to my player being a character that I just kind of default to get player character. But obviously, since I am doing it this way, it needs to be get player pawn. Which I'm very glad that is still a static function that we can use. Okay. With that said, now it should compile. And it does. Good. I use Copilot over JetBrains. It says, yeah, that's what I've heard. It seems... I should at least give it a shot for like a couple of weeks. I just stopped my Copilot subscription for like a month. See how I like it after an entire month. Which is like... I haven't been able to do much development off stream. Aside from like making tutorial videos. Lately. So, but still, if I just stream like 4 to 5 hours a week for a month, that's like 20 hours of development that I would have to like work with it. I think after about 20 hours I should be able to say, I like it enough, or I don't like it at all. Anyway, we have the test player now, which has 2 inventory components. We're going to delete one of them, because one of them is now added through C++. And we have the query actors for inventories, and when we open that inventory, we want to pass through our inventory that we make through C++ now. Good. Don't know why. It's not blueprint visible. You know what? That's fair. That is entirely fair. Onto the player. We have blueprint read only, pretty please. Let's compile again. Did the IDE just read your comments and tell you what to include? Kind of. That's GitHub Copilot for the most part, but Rider itself also has features like that. So when I make a comment like that, that is Copilot effectively just inserting like ChatGPT into the code. So here I say I said set value, right? Because doing this is set value, and then just auto-completing like that with Copilot. You don't need to be mindful that it actually generates the code that you wanted to generate. Just faster than typing this out, even with IntelliSense. So that's what I did here. If like I don't know off the top of my head where an include is, I can just say, hey, you include the character class. And then it will misunderstand sometimes. So then we say include Unreal character class. And it's still, like, it's not perfect. But if you try to, and this is nice about Rider, if you try to like use a class in this CPP file that you don't have in your includes, Rider itself will also, and that is the actual IDE, will also just throw that include in there if it can find it for you. So that's quite nice. Okay, now that we have all that set up, let's get back to our inventory code here, because we now have the player inventory components. And then this is actually a much better example. save player inventory to save object, right? And then it's going to say, hey, this is actually a good example of something that fucks up, because that's not what it should be doing. We have the player inventory in the game instance, but that's card save data. So what we actually want to do is we want to get our player inventory cards, which is a array. So we're going to make a for loop for that. Why do I do a for loop with a capital F? So that is for what type data is this even? F card slots. Card slots in cards. And now I've given it a little bit more context, and Copilot now suddenly understands, oh, hold on, this is kind of what we need to do. It still fucks up, it's still not doing this properly. But the more I start writing the code, the more context it's going to have about what I want, and then at some point you're going to be able to finish the function for me. So we have the F card slot save data, and then save data asset path is this, and then it needs to do the rarity, which is inaccessible. Okay, let's check that out, because it does have rarity in it, right? Destructs. Oh, it's called card rarity. So yeah, sometimes it does mess up. It's not perfect by any means, but it does still speed up things a little bit. And then we add it to the save game instance, which actually is the wrong type, because that's just card save data. I made a card slot save data for that specific reason. And now we have this function. So let's cut all this out. Go back into our game mode, and we have a void save player inventory. And eventually we're going to probably also just use this function to save how much money the player has. We can just paste that in there. So that's save game instance, yes. And then in save game, we just call that function again, save player inventory with save game instance. No, not save game instance. There we go. And that's compacted that a little bit further. So now we can just close that as well. And we need to start loading that in a moment anyway. Okay, so now what we have to do is we have to do the same with the chest. And since we're only going to have one chest, I'm just kind of going to hard code this, I think. What we're going to do is... we're going to add an inventory component to this. So another U property. Class... It says player inventory. That's not actually what I want. I want to make one for the chest inventory. And this one will just kind of trust. It does need to be blueprint read write, actually. Blueprint read write. We're going to set this from the chest. The chest is going to get the game mode and set itself to this value. Like, just point this value to itself. Or to its inventory component, more specifically. And then when we get to this part of the code, we just kind of have to trust that that happened. We can build in like a protection if statement, but aside from that, we just kind of have to trust that that happened. So let's build in that if statement. So if chest inventory is valid, then we kind of just copy what this function over here does, and we just change a couple of things. So we don't need to do this anymore. We take chest inventory and change that to there. And then in the game instance, I think we just have a chest inventory, and we add that slave slot data. That is a different game. Change that inventory array to that, and now we can also, in theory, save the chest, which is nice. So let's make a function for that. Void save chest inventory. It's also nice that the writer has this very simple, and probably Visual Studio has something like that, but it's very simple, just like implement function under a shortcut, instead of having to like right click and wait 3 years for the context menu to come up and stuff like that. We'll keep the if chest inventory check just to make things a little neater. We're just gonna move that all into here. And then save chest inventory, save game instance. And that's kind of the entire save portion of this system now up to date, I think. Now we just need to do the same thing for loading. Which should be not that difficult, I think, because it's just doing the same in reverse, right? So we can, especially with Copilot, now having these functions to reference, if I start making functions that have effectively the same name, what is this green squiggly about? Member function can be made const. Yeah, you said that before, and that fucked me over, so I'm just gonna like not do that. We don't need to replace this with a member variable, we decided, so we can just keep that. Right, that's the way I do it in the save game now. Yeah, so we just do that. We check if save game exists. What do we do if it doesn't exist? Oh, we don't do anything because we're trying to load. There. So make this into its own function. So we will do that. Void load card asset data. And this is what I mean. It sees, hey, you've got a save game. And then you've got a save card asset data. You've got a load game, so you probably want a load card asset data. And it is entirely right. That is what I want. So why the fuck does it put that in the header file though? That's not what I want. I want you to implement this in the CPP file. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why did you do that? Why would you do that? No, seriously, what's wrong with you? I guess we'll just type this out personally. There we go. It's already been defined or declared. Well, yeah, because this exists, right? Yeah, that's a lot better. Don't know why it really wanted to do that in the header file. That makes no sense. But we can just put all this in there. And then probably actually move this, because we don't need to do these. Like, let's keep the save and the load functions kind of together, because this file's starting to be pretty big. We don't need to have the begin play open anymore either. So we just does save game exist. Oh, hold on, probably load card asset data. Oh, we already checked that above here. Never mind, I'm just an idiot. Sometimes it does add weird comments that I don't want it to add. because I just want to load card asset data with our save game instance. Make load array into its own function. That's just what we did. Load player inventory is the next one. So we make a void load player inventory, and let's just make the load chest inventory as well. And let's hope that it implements them in the right file this time. Generate definitions for both of these, pretty please. Oh, it tried to generate them as inline functions. Sorry, I don't know. Why would it do that? Anyway, load player inventory. GitHub, do your thing. Or don't. That's fine as well. I'll give you a little head start here, which is to say you need to get the player inventory component first and foremost. So let's get that, and then you can do the rest, right? Yeah, worthless piece of shit. I guess this works the other way around though. So we want to do a for loop where we want to do a f save. What the fuck was it called again? Card slot save data. F card slots save data. Save data. Hold on. What did it do? In save game instance player inventory. Then we get the U asset out of that. Save data dot rarity. I mean, this makes sense. We just need to set its rarity, right? What is it called? No, that should work. Oh, we do not have an add card function, do we? Card to add. Oh. Hadn't taken that into consideration yet, but that definitely needs to also take in a rarity. E-card rarity. Go to its declaration. Add that in there as well. Hold on, separate them. That should now kind of fix that, right? The asset is... Why is that not correct? Oh, that's why. Okay, hold on. Card slot save data. We need to make a card slot first. So that is, I think, F card slots. And then we want to add this. That's the card we want to add. Because it already takes... Right? Yeah, it adds an F card slot, which already has a rarity in it. And a card count even. So, yes. So let's get rid of this. I knew I wasn't that much of an idiot. So this should now load the player's inventory back up. We probably should actually, before we do any of that shit, we should probably clear the inventory. So we get our player inventory. .cards.empty. And we do kind of the same thing with the inventory chest here, which is to say we... where's my game mode file? I need to close a couple of things down. We've got our chest inventory component already, so we just, again, put in an if statement there real quick to double check whether or not it is valid to begin with. And then we empty it. We make a for loop out of the save game instance. We get the assets. We get the card slot with the asset plus the rarity. And then we add that card to that card slot. So now we should be able to save the inventory for both the player and the chest as well. As soon as we actually add this to the load game function, that is. Load player inventory, load chest inventory. And that is that. So yeah. All neatly organized into their own functions. We're up to almost 200 lines of code for this one game mode file, which that'll happen with game modes, like a centralized place where a lot of code exists. There's going to be a big file. Like it's not nearly as big as my character file for my own game. Holy hell, that thing is like 1,200 lines at this point. It's also because like at least 250 of those lines are comments of old code that I just have not deleted yet. But still, it's a massive file. This is not that bad in comparison. So let's test out whether or not we can save and load our inventories. But first, let's make sure that we actually like have all of our blueprints and shit saved, because otherwise that's going to be an issue. Let's build this, and I'm actually going to take a quick bathroom break and refill my drink as well. Because apparently we've been at this for an hour, which is way longer than I thought it had been so far. I have dropped about 400 frames in that time, which is about 0.5% of the entire thing. So you guys are getting robbed by my internet connection of about 1/200th of this stream. I would be furious if I were you. So yeah, a quick break. We did build, so that's good. And then we'll be back with the testing of saving and loading the inventory. Are you guys ready to see how my code will fail? Because it probably will, knowing my luck. We start out with a inventory that's entirely empty. So we take some stuff out of this chest, which generates like a boatload of cards on begin play every time. And then we... these are the default cards that it has in here, so that makes sense. We dump a couple more into there. Oh yeah, there's one card in there without a card asset in it, so it freaks out. Then we save. Then we close the game. which is always tricky. Open the inventory. We got nothing. We try to load. Open the inventory. We still got fucking nothing. And this, yeah, so that straight up just doesn't work, does it? Well, that's fucked. Oh, that actually makes sense for the chest. For the chest, that makes sense. For the character, that is still a little worrying. But the chest itself needs to, like, assign itself on begin play. So we need to get game mode, cast to blueprint, shop game mode, set chest inventory. That's going to be this inventory component. So yeah, for the chest, it makes sense that nothing happened, because obviously we didn't set up a value for that yet. The player should have worked. Now that we're actually going at this, we probably should just clear this array to begin with, so that there's no weirdness happening. Yeah, again, this has nothing going on. Access non-trying to read inventory components for each loop. Oh, so yeah, it probably actually does have the thingy, what you name it, but it's just not displaying it because the player inventory screen is trying to use an inventory component that does not exist. And where do we set that? I think in the test player, presumably in begin play. I'm gonna go ahead and guess maybe not. Ooh. Oh, there we go. If there's no inventories around, we open our own inventory, but we need to supply the inventory components. Okay, so let's test again. I think I know what the issue was, so that's good. We take a bunch of cards out of this chest. We can now see them in my own inventory. And we will put a few of those cards in here. We will save. We will exit. We will check our inventory. Okay. Load. Check the inventory again. There's some cards in there. That's good. And check the chest, which is empty. Okay. It's a start. The player cards are getting remembered, right? I can check MG inventory, load game, full inventory. So that's cool. That works. It's consistent. Why the fuck does the chest not do it? I have to imagine it is something to do with this cast fading. Also, this does not need to happen anymore. So let's just print in case the cast here fails. No, the cast does not fail. That cast very much succeeds. Did I not include save chest inventory in save game? No, I did. And in load game, I included load chest inventory. Both of which... yeah, that should work. That should work, I think. Matter of fact, let's just make this visible anywhere. And check if it gets a value assigned to it. Because that's the one thing that we care about at the end of the day. Like, that's the end result that we need. Well, the end result that we need is a functioning... I think I might have made a mistake. Which has nothing to do with this pointer. Let me check that as well. Because I'm thinking maybe I just mix up the inventories. If I go to the chest inventory screen, right, we have a bunch of very like messy looking code. And there we have the chest inventory component and player inventory components. When the player opens that inventory through query actors with inventories. Oh no, it does actually open inventory and pass its own component through. So that should still... Okay, so that was not the issue. I was thinking maybe that's the issue. Let's check the shop game mode. And we have the... Wait, why does it not... What is this inventory component even? Wait, what? I guess that's this? But surely not, because... Huh? No, surely not, because this is empty, right? If I go into this inventory, this is empty. So it can't be that. So then what in the fucking hell even is this? Is that the player? No, because the player is also empty at this point. I haven't loaded anything yet. Is it... Oh, it's probably this, right? So it started with Goblin? Yeah, it started with Goblin. So it's just this. Did I expose the wrong thing then? No. But these are the only two things that are... This is really weird. So if I set this to not be visible anywhere, does that array disappear? Because it makes no sense for that array to have those values in it. Oh, no, it does. Oh, hold on. Now I know what's happening. I fully know what's happening. Let me load up the engine and show you. Because there's not just one chest in this map. There's also BPPC, which is a child of BP chest. As such, it runs the parent begin play, which it doesn't need to do in this case. So go fuck yourself. It will not apply itself to the game mode anymore, and now everything will work. But I also disconnected the thing that generates random cards. So okay. Where is BPPC? We have it in here somewhere, surely. Maybe I closed it already. Let's open it up again. Yeah, so let's randomly generate some cards again. We can take some cards. It's all good. Take literally everything. And then put like the first 6 in the chest. We save game. Exit game. Play game. We check empty inventory. We check empty chest. We load game. Inventory has... too many cards in it. And that's because, oh, the save file. When you save, you also need to clear... No, hold on. What? No. Okay, we'll look into that in a moment. That's not the amount of cards that should be in there. And the chest still has nothing. So that's weird, right? That's weird. Like if we put... Like, let's just put everything in the chest. Close. Save game. Like make sure that everything is saved. Close out of the game. Empty. Load game. Everything is back in the player. And nothing is in the chest. I'm guessing Copilot just fucked up some of my code. Like load chest inventory also puts it in the player or something like that, maybe, for some reason. No, it doesn't. What confuses me is the fact that all the cards just end up in the player's inventory. Which either suggests that they are in the player inventory, even though that makes no sense. Or that both of them get written to the player inventory, all loaded into the player inventory. Both of which also don't make sense. Save chest inventory. This saves the cards from inventory chest inventory cards into save game instance chest inventory. That makes perfect sense to me. So why the fuck? Does this function the way it does? How does it make any damn sense? Because this is empty. There's a bunch of shit in the player inventory now. If I go back here and I like take even more out of this, just as a test, and I save. Actually, let's just save. Then I load. What the? Oh, I just didn't have the game selected. Okay, then I load. It has all of those cards. Like we had a unicorn here, right? Yeah, we had a unicorn. So we have all those cards in the inventory now. Let's load everything into the chest. Every last fucking card. So the player inventory is now empty. We can agree on that. I save. Let's load. Why are they back in my inventory? Why are they back in my inventory and why is the chest empty? What the fuck? No, seriously, what the fuck? It does have the correct cards that got saved. It just loads them into the player's inventory. All of them. So, if I just comment out load chest inventory, does the player end up with an empty inventory? Because I feel like he should. I feel like the load chest inventory is just loading it into the player inventory for some fucking reason. Okay, that's empty. Load. How? How does that make sense? I guess when we remove a card, like, how do we remove cards? That's actually a fantastic question. Is how do we remove cards? Something must be going wrong with moving the cards themselves between these inventories. That must be what's going on, but it works in just like normal gameplay. It's just when we remove and we add to the player inventory component to the chest inventory component and the other way around. Did I not mark anything here as a U property that should have been? That's a U property. That's a U property. In the save game itself, that doesn't make any sense, but I mean, that still doesn't explain why it's behaving the way that it is. But I did forget to say that the chest inventory is a U property. Well, that should just result in that array being empty, because it couldn't be serialized. And I think that only matters for the variables within anyway. So that doesn't explain shit. If this has solved the issue, I'm going to lose my mind because I will not understand why. And that is, frankly, a bigger problem than there like being a bug to begin with. So yeah, let's just put everything in the chest again. We save, we load. Everything is back in my fucking inventory. And it's a combination of those saves as well, which is worse. But they're also in there now. Hold on, they are in the chest. So the chest itself does actually seem to... So yeah, I have way too many cards in my inventory. That should be empty. And the chest didn't load. So I don't know what the fuck is happening. Do I not clear the player inventory when I load the player's inventory? No, I definitely do. Wait, why do I load card data assets? Oh, that's the card asset stuff. Yeah, I also empty this and then I do... ulog card asset path. I just want to know if it tries to load something, man. Just inventory, add card, card slot. Yeah, that all makes sense. Well, at least the chest works. It works as long as you don't actually close the game and try to like load from a empty game, which is kind of what the loading and saving is for. But we're making progress. I appreciate the optimism. So if we try to like load now, it doesn't do shit. If we put literally all my cards into the chest, we save and we load. It still doesn't... So yeah, it's not that it partially works, it's just that it doesn't do anything. which is weird. Let's check if the chest is successfully casting. It is. They both say hello, but oh, hold on. They both say hello. They shouldn't. Did I not save this? I didn't save this change. Okay, so that is likely to be the issue. I didn't save the change in that blueprint. Okay, so we might actually be good to go then. At least partly, again. Oh, that's definitely not... Yeah, that's definitely not the way to go. Okay, so... Let's take the cards out of here. Put all the cards in there, because that's what we're testing right now. My inventory is empty. I save. I load. My inventory is no longer empty, which is, again, still fucked. Oh, no, that actually makes sense, because when we load, we're only adding stuff to it. Whenever we... Yeah, so whenever we try to save a new file, we're not clearing the old file. So that actually fully makes sense. Yeah, no, that is just an oversight by me. That fully makes sense, and we should add it into both. So when we try to... And the fact that that didn't do anything, actually, also... okay, I was trying... I was trying to log something in a function that wasn't running. That's on me. That is on me. Anyway, so yeah, save player inventory. We're only ever adding to this, right? So whenever we save the player's inventory, after we have made the game instance and we've loaded it and stuff, because that's what we're doing with create save game, right? We check whether it already exists, and if so, we load it and then override it. I don't know why we do it that way, but we do it that way. So is there any reason to do it that way? I guess there's some stuff that we might want to like add to pre-existing stuff. But I don't think so, actually. So let's just create save game data. Is just going to be... replaced by one line, I think. Because I don't think there's any like good reason to do this, now that I think about this a little bit more. So we can actually just remove this entire function, because we're not going to use it anymore. And then in save game, we just put that there. Because we're rebuilding all the data in the save game anyway, anytime we save. We're not reusing any data. And it's more bothersome to compare old data to new data to know whether or not we should override it. Like, if we're comparing them anyway, we should just override it. Like, what are we going to do? We're going to check both of them, and if they're the same, we're going to do nothing. Like, that is more annoying to do than just writing the same data to a variable that already like has that data in it. Like, that is just... So yeah, there's no reason to load in the old save game if we're saving over it. Like, this is one of those things that I just like kind of got in the muscle memory of, because that's the way I learned to do it. This is the first time I'm actually running into an issue where it causes problems. And now that I think about it more critically, it's like, why did I get taught to do it that way? Like, it seems like you would potentially have something like where you have something that is additive. So you first take it out of the save game, then add your current value to it. But like, that's just not how save games work in like 99% of games. So that's very much the edge case for it to function that way. So yeah. Got to keep your sanity to say in progress. Looking good, thanks. My sanity has left me a long time ago, man. Don't you worry about my sanity. That's just no longer a factor. So yeah, now with that, I think we should now be working with the save games. I'm going to be real with you. I thought this save game implementation was going to take like 45 minutes at most. And then we could move on to adding the display cases for fuck me. No, but what is the issue? I guess we should wrap this in a protection, but the fuck are you talking about? Like, I don't need that to be a static number. I don't even want it to be a static number. Why is that suddenly an issue? Like, I understand that I need to forward declare this. I only need to forward declare it once, actually. I was going to put it everywhere, but once you've done it once, works for the entire class. Oh, I guess I put the forward declaration in create save game and I deleted that. No, that makes sense. So yeah, I was thinking this is going to take like 45 minutes to create the save and load for the inventories. And after that, we could move on to the display cases. I was still going to be moving on to the display cases, don't get me wrong. But we're an hour and a half in, so that's a fun time, isn't it? To be fair, I am actually having a good time doing this. Like, I always like making my action RPG as well, and I'm really eager to get back into that project after we're done with this. But I'm actually having a lot of fun making a very much like more mechanical game, and it's making me think that making an action RPG as like a 3 to 5 year project was maybe like not playing to my strengths, right? Because I think the thing where I'm definitely strongest would be in programming, and then like creating like game systems, like system code. And it's not an animation and art, which is what like an action RPG or a Souls-like. Again, I call it a Souls-like. It's more a Souls-light is how I have come to refer to it as. Heavily relies on, and I'm kind of like only okay at those. So, at best. So I don't know, maybe I should have picked something that played to my strengths a little bit more. But something that you're not good at, like putting yourself in that situation, you're going to get good at it through necessity, alright? So that's the way that I live my life anyway. So yeah, let's put everything in here, and actually let's keep one card in the player inventory just to check whether or not everything works. Then we close out. That's empty. We load. It's got one card in the player inventory, and the chest is full of the rest of the cards. Okay, this fucking works. Congratulations. I am great. 100% game functionality is way more fun than artistic parts for me. Yeah. Fucking UI design. Don't talk to me about UI design. Like, look at these inventories. Like, this UI is horrible. And it's going to stay horrible for the most part, probably. That said, I could probably do with... Hold on. I have an idea. We have this, like, chest inventory screen. We probably could make this... There's a widget in and of itself. Hold on. We probably could make this a little bit cleaner with like a border in there. Right. Let's see, where's the border? Did I not put that in? That should be in there. Oh, there we go. Border. Because I made a border for those other things as well, so I think I can just a little called border. There we go, and then we have this image which is going to be literally the, like, I think I called it background or like BG, tile BG. Like, that'll make it look a lot better as is, I think. Probably a good idea though to, ooh, that probably should tile a little bit better. Hold on. That's set to no tile. We probably want to tile it in both, but that is also not great. I don't care. But yeah, so now that we have this, probably just make this. I don't like the fact that this just uses the initial resolution of the image. And you can't like say, for this widget I want it to be. Actually, I think you can. Hold on. No, you can't. Never mind. I'm an idiot. Yeah, again, look at this UI. It fucking blows. It's really bad. But for this now, I can say we just tint this color or make it just slightly more transparent. Maybe? No, that's actually not how that works. Anyway, I'm getting distracted with something that I don't want to be working on. But now we have this inventory, which is actually, oh man, that's rough. That's not good either. And then when we load the card in, we like get, oh no. Let's get back. Let's go back. That was a mistake. That was a huge mistake. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be doing this. No, just set it back to being like this blue, whatever this is. Like, why does it still have the image? There we go. That's better. So yeah, ugly UI. We're gonna stick with that. The pink color, getting good is the purpose of a Souls-like, isn't it? Yeah, but it's like, the purpose of a Souls-like for getting good is supposed to be for the player, not for the developer. But it is also like a very educational experience for me to try to make something which, again, like 90%, I believe, of what makes a Souls-like a good Souls-like is visual feedback and like player input. But that's the like other like 9%, and then like we've got like 1% that is like code. Like 90% is visual feedback, which is to say things like visual effects, particle systems, and even within that 90%, I would argue that of that 90%, like 70% probably is good animation. And I'm not an animator. And frankly, I think I've been doing a pretty good job making things feel impactful and satisfying with subpar animations in my game. But definitely, like, the animations need to be improved before it's finished. Which is going to be like a couple of decades from now at the current pace. So who fucking cares? What are we going to do now? Display cases, I think, is the next thing that we're going to be doing. And we want to be making those in C++. Probably. Because, yeah, it's going to be easier to access them from there. Now, the question is, we probably want to just give them an inventory component, right? So what we probably want to do is probably want to go in here, make a new C++ class based on Actor 2D. Display case. This doesn't need to do that much. It just needs to have an inventory component. And it needs to have a function to see whether or not it has a card yet, and if it does have a card, it shouldn't allow you to add another one. That's actually... Oh, we're probably gonna do that in its UI, I imagine. Now I think about it. But still, for the purposes of saving these, it's gonna be probably easier to have these in C++ still, so that's fine. I was really scared there for a moment. Why is this file empty? But that's because it's the CPP file. We don't need to have this open. We don't need to have that open. We don't need to have that open. We might want to have that open. We probably want to have that open. Definitely going to need to have that open. I don't know why castle H is even a thing. And the same thing here with the header files. Don't need that. Don't need that. Probably want that. Definitely want that. Probably want that. Probably want that. What is this? Card asset.h. Oh, that's just all of them. Okay. A crop function would be awesome. Yeah, crop function would be awesome. Like it's funny. I think that Unreal probably has the most robust UI editor out of pretty much any engine that I've seen. Mind you that I don't have too much insight in a lot of engines, but like if I look at Unity and Godot, designing a UI in those is just like kind of making a game object, or a whatever Godot calls it, and just telling it, hey, you are specifically a UI element, so you're going to render as a UI element instead of having this very like nice, robust UI system. And even though I think Unreal probably has the most robust UI system out of most engines that I've used anyway, it's still kind of fucking horrible. But that's probably also because I'm comparing it to Photoshop, which is made by the worst company on earth, Adobe. It's not the worst company on earth. It's a bad company, though. But Photoshop is an amazing piece of software. So I don't think anything can really, like, if you're doing like graphic design related stuff, I'm going to be comparing you to Photoshop and you're going to suck. Like, that's just the end of it, really. It's also the reason that I don't use GIMP. Like, GIMP looks great. You know what's greater than GIMP? Photoshop. Photoshop is just perfect, honestly. There's a lot of reasons that I'm still stuck with Adobe, and Photoshop is definitely one of them. Now, what are we doing? Oh yeah, we were doing the inventory components. So U property. I am such a mess today. Blue now. Edit defaults only. That will be the U inventory components. Oh, you can actually choose. I hadn't noticed up until this point. You can say add the hashtag include, but we're in a header file, so you probably don't want to do that. But you can also add a for declaration, in which case it'll just... Oh, for declares it up there. Huh. I'm just used to for declaring them like right in here, right? So just saying like class, whatever. But of course, you can just for declare them up there as like a secondary list of includes almost. That's a lot more organized than how I have been doing it. I'll say that much. And I guess that's kind of all we need, because we've got the Actor 2D already has... Like, what does the Actor 2D have? Right? It has a sprite. And it has a collision box. But I don't think it needs the collision box, if I'm being honest with you. It doesn't even have a collision box. That's commented out. Never fucking mind. Yeah, because the sprite itself has collision capability. GIMP is free. That is true. That is definitely a factor to consider. Like, Photoshop is fucking expensive. And if you're just using Photoshop as a standalone program, I think it's a little bit cheaper than the entire Creative Cloud. But that's kind of the thing. There's very few people that I feel only use one program in the Creative Cloud package. Like, if you're an illustrator, you're going to be having Photoshop and, well, Illustrator, if you're a graphic designer as well. Like, if you're a photographer, you're going to have Photoshop and Lightroom. If you're a videographer, like me, you're going to have Photoshop and Audition and After Effects and Premiere and and Photoshop and maybe Illustrator. And for me, there's not like literally no real good other option. Because Creative Cloud works so well with everything integrated to each other. Aside from even the fact that like a lot of like graphic templates are in Photoshop or After Effects formats. Client sending you stuff is oftentimes going to be in Photoshop formats. And Premiere specifically also After Effects, just being able to work with that so nicely. It just like it is significantly worth the money for the monthly subscription to have the ease of working with those file formats. It doesn't mean that I like Adobe as a company, though. I hate them. I hate them so much. Anyway, so yeah, I think the only thing that the display case needs for now is actually just an inventory component. Like we could give it a function to check if the inventory component has anything in it yet. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, let's do that. So we have the display case.h. Let's make a u function which is blueprint callable. Bool has card. Actually, it doesn't need an inventory component, does it? It only needs to have a card slot. But then we need to add a... Yeah, no, I think we're going to have it with an inventory component, like the whole thing. Just for the ease of use of being able to use the functions on an inventory component, like adding cards and, well, removing cards. We don't have a function for that, but we could. Otherwise, we're going to need to recode those same functions just for like a singular card slot instead. Which is maybe... Yeah, actually we probably do want to do that. Because the inventory at the moment I think already supports card stacking. We really need to look into that because I don't think we're using that. But it already supports card stacking, which means you'd be able to stack more than one card in a display case, and I don't want to be able to do that. So actually, yeah, I've talked myself into getting rid of the inventory component. What we're going to be doing instead is we're going to be using a F card slot instead. We don't want to include that. We want to afford to clear that, so we don't need to have the inventory component in there anymore. And we'll just call that card slot. What are you complaining about? Actually, that probably... We want to check whether or not it has the card slot. Need to update that as well. That's a struct, right? So we don't need to make it a pointer. It's just, yeah. What the fuck? I mean, we definitely need to include it here. That's not... I think it's in card assets. Yeah, card assets. So we want to include card assets. No return statement. That makes sense. For now, just return false. Just to get rid of that annoying ass error. And then we have the display case again, which still is throwing some errors. Function parameter card slot cannot be defined as has card. As its defined scope, a display case. Shadowing is not allowed. Oh! This needs to be public. I think that means both of them need to be public, actually. Right, that solves that, I think. Oh, this blueprint. I always fucking blueprint callable. That still doesn't fix it, but that is definitely a thing that I needed to do. Okay, let's go back into the card assets real fucking quick. The card assets has the F card slots. This doesn't need to be made public, does it? Do we need to make this public in order for that to work? Yeah, no. I feel like I'm blanking on something super obvious at the moment. Why does adding the include work, but not adding a forward declaration for it? The forward declaration should also be enough for the header file. You know what? I'm just going to try to compile this and see if it screams at me. Because sometimes, at least with Visual Studio, I know that I'm using Rider now, which is supposed to be better. Yeah, I didn't think so. Function parameter card slot cannot be defined in hasCard, as it is already defined in scope a display case. Yeah, but I'm just fuck it. We're just going to hashtag include card asset. Does that solve everything? Except that it definitely needs to be above the generated other file. But this. I heard Rider is better. But I guess only to an extent. Yeah, it's also just my brain not working with me, because it feels like this is not a Rider issue. It's just, I don't quite understand what the issue is, because it says... Oh, the issue is that these are named the same thing. See, sometimes I'm just a bit of an idiot. So now we can forward declare this as a struct up here. So struct. No. Just want to forward declare this. Struct F card slots. And then this should also stop complaining, right? Why are you being a bitch? What if I just forward declare it there? Does that work? No? Why not? It's incomplete. Just see if it accepts it while compiling. That's the only thing that fucking matters in the end. Yeah, it didn't. Declaration of card slot hides class member. I don't care. Let's just include it. It's not that big a deal. That should solve that, right? .h.h. That's a weird file format. Okay. So now we should have, probably should have finished that function. Yeah, I definitely should have finished that function. Oh, it's still bitching. Okay. Fantastic. So it's something about the card slots, which is a problem for some fucking reason. What do you mean it hides a class member? Inside of card asset? Wait, did I not call it? No, I did call it F card slot. There's all U property, U property, U property. I don't need to mark this as public, do I? Yeah, no, that grays it out, so that's not important. Now what the actual living fucking... Add your own swears is the issue here. A display case card slot. That is the declaration that we have here, mate. Like, legitimately don't know what the issue is. Like, aside from the fact that I'm including it here as well, but that surely isn't the issue. It's time to go to ChatGPT. I already have a window open. Fantastic. I'm getting this error in this C++ file. Error, copy paste, file. Let's see what ChatGPT makes of it. Oh! I didn't fucking update this to match that. That is the issue. So now I can forward declare this again, in theory. Maybe not. Let's just not do anything fancy and just include card asset again. It's fine with me. As long as it works, I don't really care about having to include that in the header file for now. Yeah, okay, so it works now. That's the only thing that I really care about. So let's go. I didn't finish the function. Definitely wanted to finish the function. But it's actually very easy, because all we need to do is we need to, instead of returning this directly, we need to check whether or not card slot is equal to the card slot to test. No, we don't, actually. That is entirely bullshit. We just need to check whether or not... We don't even need to, like, query for a specific card slot to test. We just need to check whether or not this card slot, the card asset, is not equal to a null pointer. If it has an asset, there's something in it. That's all we need to check. Sometimes life just do be like that. Just that simple. And sometimes you spend like fucking 15 minutes trying to figure out that you have a parameter that's named the same. It's one of your variables, and C++ doesn't like that. Okay. All that said, we have a display case class now. So let's add one. BP display case. I don't have a sprite for it. And we're not going to make it right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go source sprite, and we're just gonna fucking take the chest again, and we're going to color this one red. Just to color code it. We also need a sprite for the PC. I just need to make some sprites at some point. And I said I was going to do all my spriting on stream. I don't know about that. I'm still looking into maybe checking if I can like find a pixel artist somewhere who can, for like a reasonable budget, just make me the sprites that I need. There's not that many sprites that I need. The most complex thing that I need is probably going to be like a handful of characters that I can programmatically like change the color of their hair and that kind of stuff, right? So that's really the only thing that and their eyes and whatever. So there's just like grayscale eyes, grayscale hair in like a couple of styles. Like modular NPCs, preferably. But at the moment, what I'm just thinking about doing is just taking my sprites for my player character and just recoloring some of those and just calling those the NPCs. But that's neither here nor there. So I've got a couple of sprites to still make and maybe look into. Find a pixel artist at least a reasonable price. Yeah. Yeah, so that's not likely to happen. So it's probably going to stick with like programmer art. But yeah, we'll figure it out at some point, I'm sure. We want to set this actually to the like 80. What height are these at? Z height of 2. So yeah, let's just put this one like over here, for instance. Now, that said, I just realized that we set up the... okay, yeah. No, that's still fine. That's still fine. That is still fine. So I just realized that we set up the blueprint interface to like open up the separate inventories, but this doesn't have an inventory screen. It doesn't need to have an inventory screen. It just needs to take in the player's inventory, which it very much can do. So let's remove some of these things that I'm actually not using anymore. I've said actually like 5 times in the last actual couple of minutes. Very sorry about that. I know it's annoying when people do that. We don't need the assassin card anymore either. Player inventory screen. We don't need the inventory viewer anymore. Always good to clean up a couple of tabs. Let's open up the display case. Display case is going to need to have a... I'm actually starting to think that maybe we could make that a child of chess as well. I don't think we need to. I think we actually shouldn't, now that I think about it a little bit more. We need to implement our blueprint interface, is what we need to do. That is the joke. That is the joke. That's actually the joke. That I said actually, after explaining that I said actually too much. Like I'm doing it right now. Anyway, let's implement this. So we have the player inventory components. We, for now, just like add a widget or create a widget. And we need to create a specific... Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to be entertaining, as well as maybe informative or somewhere in between. I think we just copy over the chest inventory screen for now, and this is going to be the display case inventory screen. And we're going to just kind of say, hey, This looks really, really, really nice. We're going to make this thinner. And surely we have like an alignment thing here, right? As in we can snap it to a place on the screen. That is what I mean. The littlest thing about Photoshop, like if I was just dragging things around in Photoshop, it would kind of snap to like the exact middle of my canvas, which is nice. And it also just straight up has like buttons to put something like its origin point at the center of like a couple of different places, like center horizontal, vertical, left, right, outlined. I think this only has like these. It has these things, right? But that's only for the anchors. I can like anchor it to the top left, but that doesn't actually help me. We're just gonna stick with this for now because frankly I just don't care enough to make sure that it is outlined 100%. Like it does do it with the anchoring. That's the funny part. Like it does make sure that the anchoring is symmetrical, which actually is just a good guide for the inventory screen itself, I suppose. The stream has been very informative, terrible at C++, mainly focusing UI context. Well, me too, and that's why I do all my UI stuff when I can in Blueprint. Like, the functionality for this shit is to whenever we click on a card in the player's inventory, we want to check whether or not... Okay, so we want to actually have a variable here for the display case, and we're just gonna make that a display case blueprint reference. That's going to make a hard reference. I don't care because this is literally just displaying an actor that already exists, and that is going to be instance editable and exposed on spawn. And then we want to have like probably just one like card in here, and that card is going to... I don't even think we need this inventory viewer actually. We just have this card. Yeah, we literally just have this card. It's actually all we need. It does need to like properly be anchored though. And we'll give it a background at some point. For now, it just needs to work. That's the important thing. Yeah, the widget... I don't know if I responded to that already. I did see it before. The widget thing definitely should have, like, again, a lot more just Photoshop functions. Like, there's literally a plugin on the marketplace that just lets you make images, like in Photoshop, in layers, and then import that as UMG widgets. So that you can do all the design stuff in Photoshop, which actually is like very nice for that. And then like switch out all those layers for like your functional UMG widgets and add your code to it. That's nice, but that then requires people to use Photoshop, which we've just gone over why Photoshop sucks, because it's Adobe, and Adobe sucks. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, so when we click on a thing in the player, we first check like has card, which definitely can be a Blueprint Pure function, but here we are. If it does not have a card, we get rid of the chest inventory component because we just do not need that. We set card like slots. Did I not expose that? I did not expose that. Blueprint read write. And before we fuck anything up, let's open up our blueprints here. Make sure everything is compiled and saved. And that's we'll take a look at that in a moment. Actually, probably maybe do that now. let's just remove all this, because all this is going to need to be changed anyway. We're going to need to redraw the inventory. Do I have a redraw function on an individual card? I don't know that I do. It's a very good question. It's a very good question. I don't really care at the moment. Let's save everything, and I probably shouldn't have closed that, but here we are. And then, now that this blueprint read-writes, we can recompile. I didn't really think through these display cases too well. I probably should have thought a little bit more about that. But that's the great thing, is this stream is not going to last that much longer. So we'll just keep going and going and going for now. And then the next stream will be on Thursday. So I'll have like 2 days to think about how I'm going to actually solve this issue. In which I do also need to work and stuff. But don't really care about that. I guess this means that we also just have some more room for the player's inventory, which means that we can display more cards at once, which is always a good thing. Okay, now that we have that, if we don't already have a card in the display case, we can set the card slots to whatever card we just clicked on. So we do that instead of adding it to the array, because of course this thing doesn't have an array. We just immediately set it, only when this is false, and then we remove it from the player inventory components. And then we do need to redraw the chests. Also, hold on, we have components here, but we also have our... This variable doesn't even exist anymore, does it? Yeah, no, it doesn't. I don't know why that's not giving compile errors. Oh, now it is. There we go. So yeah, okay. We need to have, I think, on the card itself, we also need to have a redraw function. Maybe. Or will that just update... I don't know that we need a redraw on the card itself. Maybe we do. That's just in its construction, right? That it does that. So presumably when we change something, that'll just reflect it. We set everything here in pre-construct. So when we change something, it should just rerun this. Well, thinking about it, I don't know that it does. So let's make a... Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do at all. I mean, it's good to comment your code. Don't get me wrong. But I wanted to make a custom event. Redraw card. Which will just do the exact same thing. Because I'm pretty sure that we need to do that. Like 92.5%. So let's make this thing a variable so that we can say, hey, I want to redraw you. Redraw card. And now we should be able to move a card from our inventory into the display case, I think. Except that we still have compile errors. What the hell is your issue? Create widgets must have a class specified. We never added that class, did we? Display inventory screen, which now takes in the player's inventory component and the display case, which is this. Or in Blueprint it's called self. Still don't know why they fucking bothered to give it a different name in Blueprint. Like, another hoot, this is just running in C++. Actually, no, it's not technically. We figured that out a couple of streams ago. But still, you can just please keep your naming conventions the same as the language that, that your programmers use. Anyway, what the hell? What is this? Sure. Let's not think about that too much. So when we open this up, we should see our own inventory. Or not. Okay. Why would that be? Why would that be? Because the sprite itself here is in its collision set to block all. Oh, maybe display case. Hold on, this sprite is set to only block dynamic, right? Yeah, it needs to block all. Probably need to set that up just as a default in the setup for the sprite, because now it will we're not adding it to viewport. Holy hell, my brain's at the edge of its capability at the moment, I think. Because this is, of course, we need to add it to viewport. In my defense, I did record like 2.5 hours of tutorials today before starting to stream. That might have not been the best idea to do, to be fair. So let's add a couple of cards to my inventory. Go down here, and then when I click this card, it should... It removed it. Didn't put it in the top row. Why would that be? Well, it wasn't immediately before the stream. Like, there was an hour or so in between where I had dinner. I clicked on some digital items in RuneScape. And then I started to stream. So, there was a little bit of time in between, but still, I'm working on a series to like introduce Niagara particles. And while I'm somewhat comfortable with Niagara, also as some people call it Niagara, which is just I need to like do retakes for quite a few things where I'm like confidently explaining something and then I try to show it and turns out I skipped a step because like I am comfortable enough to explain it and to troubleshoot my issues as they pop up, but I'm not well versed enough to like do everything just off the cuff. So that takes like a little bit of brain power, which is sometimes a little bit annoying. So why does it not add it to here? Because it does definitely remove it from inventory, then it redraws the player inventory, and it redraws the player card. And we set the card slots on the display case. Oh, hold on. We set the card slot on the display case, but I don't think... Yeah, we're not using the display case thing anyway, are we? Well, yeah, we're setting that value, but after we set that value, we also need to set this card to that value. Yeah, no, that fully makes sense. Let's do that. Set card slots. And then we redraw. You see, this is the kind of thing where I'm like, nah, how do I even skip a basic step like that? Now it should just fully work. So we take like a couple of cards out of here. We go here. There we go. Work before work. You're the perfect German. I mean, I'm not even German, and that's how perfect I am, apparently. The other way around doesn't work yet, right? No, it doesn't. Yeah, so to be fair, I do work before streaming every time I stream, unless it's weekends, but even then I usually do work before work. But usually the work I do before work is like my actual job. Instead of, like today, I only did like 2 hours of actual work, and then I did like 2.5 hours or so of tutorial recording. Because I had a very like easy day today with not a lot of work going on. So I figured might as well get ahead of the game and start working a little bit on that Niagara course. So, now, the display case, when we already have something in it, we want to swap which one is in it. And we definitely need to organize all this node noodle stuff a little bit better. But we'll worry about that later. And then we also need to make something to remove the card just back to the inventory. But we'll worry about that later. Expanding more of your artistic brain. Yeah, it's kind of fun, right? Because the way particles and materials work is it's very much more a technical thing than it is like an artistic thing, which is to say you're kind of like programming your art instead of painting it. And that's kind of where I go bad, is when I need to like paint or when pixel art, put down pixels, which is its own form of painting, I suppose. But when I need to like paint stuff is where I usually lose the plot. When it is something procedural, like Substance Painter, I'm pretty like confident with Substance Painter's procedural tools and like tweaking values and stuff like that to make something that looks good. When it is just using the different like texture maps that are generated and then like blending that with different noise textures at different like scales and ratios, I can do that. That's not that big a deal to me, because that is literally just programming with images. It's the moment where you give me like a sculpting brush or a painting brush where I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. That's not necessarily what I'm most comfortable with. And particles very much are just programming with visuals. So I'm fairly confident with it. But of course, still not my like main skill, I would argue. But then again, most of my skills aren't my main skill because I just do a little bit of everything. Because my attention span is horrible. Okay, so when we do the swapping, we need to first add it back to the inventory. So the card that already exists on there needs to go into the inventory. So we get the display case card slots and we just add that to inventory, right? So get card slots. Actually, I think we have the add card function, right? Yeah, we add card. Which just it does the same thing as adding to the array, I'm pretty sure, but let's just stick with this. So we add that. Then we can remove it. So we can say set card slot. Actually, we don't need to remove it. We just need to override it with whatever we just clicked on. I just realized. So we literally just... Yeah, we need to copy over some code. Or we need to like collapse it into a function. Because this... We just set that value. This didn't look messy enough. We don't need to remove... Oh, actually, no, we do need to remove the card that we just clicked on from the inventory. So even that we copy. So yeah, we definitely want to... Like, this is the same node setup. And everything about this also is the same. So it's literally just the same function with one node in front of it. Yes, it is. I will clean that up later. But now I should be able to also swap cards around. And we can't save the display case card yet. That's the wrong chest. So let's take a couple of these out. Now I should be able to easily swap them around. So I can put this one in, and then this one, and this one. Fantastic. That is great. There's some red text there. I'm going to ignore it because it suits me. Actually, it's not that big a deal that there's some red text there because it's just warning me that I'm trying to set this to a value that does not exist. So all we need to do is put a actually for both of these. What we need to do is we just need to put in an isValid check. IsValid. That's not what I wanted to do. IsValid for both of these, and only if it is valid we execute this. And what we're going to be trying to check is the card slots data assets. Just to check whether or not it exists. And now it should stop screaming about that. And it even gives the default stuff. The name and then lorem ipsum, blah, blah, blah. We can even scroll through it. Huh. There you go. So our display case works. I guess we want to also make it so that if we click on the display case card, we get it back in our inventory, which shouldn't be that big a deal. Where is my display case? There we go. Because we already have the display case. Actually, it's just this card widget, right? Bind on card pressed. Yes. Did I just remove the event that was gonna... Well, just assign. That's fine. So we assign this, and then when we press the card, all we need to do is we need to set the display cases card to, so set card slots to just this, right? We don't even need to like make an empty one. If we just do this, this will make an empty one. So oh, but that actually... You probably need to program something in to... yeah. So what it's going to do now is, because we added this validation check, is because we're going to like pass in an empty pointer, it's not going to run any of this shit, and it's going to keep displaying the last card that was in there. So we actually need to, like, when not valid, we needed to do something else. So we need to just like do all this, but with the default values. Do we have like a reconstruct or whatever? I didn't think we did. Maybe there is a thing to reconstruct a widget. Unreal widgets resets text to default. Yeah, no, all these people say that ain't happening. I guess when for now, what we're gonna do is if it is not valid, what we'll do is we will set card slots, and we'll just make like a default one. But that's not going to work very well either. We'll worry about that a little later. For now, we just need something to be in there. So we'll just say, hey, assassin, common, card count. I guess we'll set that to 1. Just so that it displays something. This will now infinitely spawn assassin cards. So, that's a thing that you can abuse at the moment, I guess. But again, that's a worry for future me. That's not a me right now issue. So, I don't care. So we just set this to an empty card slot. And then no, we don't, because we first have to add it to the player inventory. So we get the player inventory, we add card, get the player inventory component, and we add a card. And the card we add is the display case card, so get card. And that's really all there is to it, right? We just add it to the player's inventory, and we remove it from the display case. And and then we redraw both of them. Hold on. Ooh, I almost forgot about that. The display case. Our WBP card also needs to be set back to a value. That makes sense, yeah. But we can just get that from this. And then we redraw both the inventory and okay, so now it should display a assassin card actually when we go in here. Yep, that's the default. And then if I just take a couple of cards out here, if I put my card in there, if I want to take it out again, I can take it out. But I can also like take out infinitely many assassin cards. Oh, we already have stacking, do we? Hold on, do we? WBP card. Apparently we do. So save everything, and then we... Basing a single shot will erase its contents. Let's just add a new text block. That's... oh, it's in a border. Why is it in a border? Why the fuck did I make this a border? It makes no sense. Replace with overlay, pretty please. And then this does need to have some padding now. Of course it does. What did I set this to? Like 22? That's the left. That's the wrong direction. But I think that was actually a pretty good guess. Wow. Also, this definitely needs to be a vertical box, not an overlay. So replace with vertical box. Which again, we're going to give padding from the top. I could use a spacer for this actually, but same result really. And then we'll put another one of these under that in the vertical box. I said under that. Let's put it in the vertical box first, and that automatically puts it under. Okay, cool. We align it to the left, and we say amount. And whenever we redraw a card, or whenever we draw a card to begin with, to be honest with you, I just want to make sure that this does what I think it does. So we set text. That will be amount. And we'll get card counts. You can just pull that through right away and set that to there. So now it should also display the amount of cards in a stack. I didn't think we already had card stacking working, but it seems like we might. It generated only unique cards because that's just my luck. But I guess it actually doesn't matter because I can test it through here. So if I go here and I add that ninja card and I add another one. I guess it doesn't work. Why not? Like, let's print out whenever we click on these things. Like, this is on card redraw, right? So let's try to print this as a string. I'm guessing card redraw just doesn't get called on the cards in the inventory. But whenever the inventory as a whole gets redrawn, new cards are instantiated for that. So it should still, like, redraw them. Right, so when I open this, it should... I mean, that works. It shows that there's two of this. It takes the entire stack out, which is not exactly what I would want it to do. Yeah, so I think the like stack adding just doesn't quite work the way I want it to. But also the changing and the removing doesn't quite work, so we'll take a look into the whole like stack merging a little bit later, I think, because for now I don't think that's a quick and easy fix. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be very quick and easy, to be honest with you. I'll go into the inventory component, right? We have add card, and there we check if it already contains the card to add. We find the index of that. We just add to that instead, to that card count. So that should work. ulog card count increase. Not as a comment, as an actual line of code. You piece of shit. Oh, I guess we're just not using the remove card function. We're just doing it directly on the... okay, now that makes sense. I coded this whole damn function. I'm not using it, I don't think. Anyway. We're making some good progress, though. Like, it's obviously... we're not quite finished yet. I was hoping that this game would be finished this week. I don't think we're going to get there. But we're making some good progress. So... and I'm having fun. I do want to get back to my action RPG at some point. And this video, like this game I'm making for a video. And that video does have like a time when it needs to go up. So this game needs to be finished at some point. But that point is not right now, so it's fine. So yeah, let's try to add this to the inventory. Yeah, it says card count increased every time I do that. So that's... but it's still printing out... why is it still printing a value of 1 if it's getting increased? Why is it doing that? Finishing project? I know, right? What the fuck is even... What the fuck is even this? Why is it 2 cards? I'm guessing it's to do with the stack size. But didn't I say that the stack size shouldn't be compared in the card asset, like the card slot? Yeah, it should only be comparing the asset and the rarity. It should be ignoring the card count. That's what this, like, that's what we figured out last week. That's what, like, overriding the bool operator like this does. So... I'm thinking I'm aiming to have all the programming done so that I can like put it on itch and then see whether or not I like at some point hire an artist to improve the visuals. Again, pixel artists aren't the cheapest people in the world, which is fair because it's a unique and difficult talent. But I also am broke, so like what even am I doing at this point, right? Like, what is this card? I don't know. I think it's just maybe a little bit buggy, that card, because it's like I don't know what's going on. If we just like all this works fine. Let's see if we have any cards in here with a double stack, because that is really what I'm after. Like, it's maybe that this card specifically is bugged as all hell. So let's definitely like not keep that in our inventory. Aside from the fact that saving is going to definitely load it back into my inventory. Of course it is. Okay, we've got a stack with 2 cards. That's fantastic. We can take all these. Why are these amounts? Oh, their stack size is not getting saved. Yeah, we should be saving the stack sizes of them as well. Yeah. So putting that in there, right? I don't know, man. It just puts the entire stack in. We need to worry about this at some other point in time, because this just isn't it right now. Yeah, I just need like I can do 3D art decently well. Like again, I'm not a particularly like amazing 3D artist, but I can do art well enough in 3D. Definitely not in 2D. And that's that thing of like 2D art. You definitely need to like paint, right? You can't procedurally make something 2D. 3D art you can do somewhat more like on a technical level, which helps me. Still then I do end up doing a lot of sculpting, and sculpting in 3D works better for me than painting in 2D. I'm still not amazing at it, but it's more intuitive for me. Let's just real quick see if I can change this, and then I'll open my other project real quick to show some of the stuff, because I don't know if you've seen much of it. Like some statistically, with like the about 17,000 subscribers I have, I get under 1,000 on each devlog. Like statistically, there's a chance that you haven't seen it. There's a pretty good chance. But I'm like not unhappy with my art in that game. I'm not super happy with it, but I'm not unhappy with it. Okay, so when we remove a card, instead of just doing card remove, I want to do remove card. Right, and then the card we remove is the card that was just clicked on. I think that is the issue that we're running into. And then we redraw inventory, we do all that stuff. And we change the same thing over here. I don't know what this bool variable does. Oh, that returns whether or not that card existed in that inventory already, I think. I think that's what that does. The worst part of 3 are the texturing. And that is where Substance Painter comes in, because it kind of just takes care of that for you. At least partly. There still is a bunch of like stuff to actually do, and I'm definitely like not great at it. Anyway, it's in this inventory, right? Yeah, so let's try to load inventory, and then we have a bunch of stuff in here which are all set to amount 0. Not gonna fix that right now. Is there anything here with an amount greater than 1? No, we just reload. That's just kind of how I'm gonna do this for now. Statistically, the chance that there's at least one card with a stack size of 2 at some point should be pretty high. Like, I've got 20 cards with 4 rarities. Actually, that makes 80 combinations, and there's only 10 cards in that chest. So having 2 of the same card rarity combination is actually not that likely. Maybe I should just make this thing generate more cards. Yeah, that's definitely what I'm going to be doing. Hold on. I'm just going to make this thing generate like 100 cards instead. Generate random cards for now. Yeah, so let's just make that up to like 99 instead. That way, it's effectively guaranteed that we get at least one overlapping card. There we go, amount 2. So that does take the entire stack out of this chest. But what I want to know is whether or not it takes the entire... Well, that's not quite what I had in mind. Oh, there we go. The moment you go over the integer overflow limits, it removes it from your inventory finally. Okay, so that doesn't work like at all. I'm just gonna call it here today. This is only becoming worse and worse and worse as we go on. So we'll be back to this on Thursday, and we'll probably fix up this shit. But for now, I think we let me pull up the project file for my action RPG just to show some of the like 3D art. Just to like have a little bit of fun. Do I have a controller nearby? No, it does not look like I do. Well, I have a controller, but I don't have a cable to connect it with. So it's taking a while to load. It's a big project, to be fair. I shouldn't like drum on my desk, even though I have like a shock mount. Well, the microphone has a built-in shock mount, is what I should say. Anyway, so we have like, if I like load game real quick, do I have no save files at my central hub location? That is bad. Well, anyway, so yeah, this is probably quite loud. Is it loud for you guys? Oh no, it doesn't have any music anymore. So yeah, this is my character, which is a little bit dark at the moment because there's no lighting in this yet, because this is just a rough block out. And oh, my particle system is fucked because of course it is. I need to set up something better for those animation notifiers. Anyway, so here we've got some of my other characters, right? So there's some of the enemies. And there's this bug where sometimes if I get hits, I just get stun locked or soft locked. there's some guy somewhere that has an issue with like a gameplay effect or something. I don't exactly know what the issue is. Still need to figure that out. But it's been a while since I really like been inside this project. A couple of weeks. Anyway, so yeah, this is some of the... I'm going to just get the fuck out of here before I can get hit, because I think it's those ghost enemies that fuck me up. There we go. So yeah, this has a little bit more of my art in it, like those skulls and the particles and a little bit of lighting. I think if I go through here, I end up at the combat arena for this dungeon. I know my own dungeon so well. Matter of fact, let's actually plop down a save point here real quick, because this is going to be good to keep around. These coffins were made on commission for a Fiverr video. To be fair, they were sponsored, so I didn't actually pay for these. Well, I didn't fully pay for these. I had like a budget that Fiverr would pay for like the artists, but then the artists were like, yeah, I know what my gig's at, it's like $15, but it's actually 30, so I ended up still paying like $100 for like 3 assets. But still, Fiverr paid a good amount out of it. So yeah, these rock materials, obviously, those are just Unreal materials. The wall that you see there with like the skulls scrolling in it, that is entirely me. And then up here we have some characters that have a little bit better lighting. And oh my god, I didn't turn them back off. They're all turned on at the moment. So yeah, these are all my work. All these guys over here, and they're absolutely yeeting me all over the place. So satisfying to do this. Hold on. I've got my scythe. That's gonna hit all of them real hard. God damn it. It is a very slow weapon, to be fair, the scythe. So yeah, you can see that this like it needs a little bit more like player feedback to make it feel like satisfying. I think I'm also going to change the combat back to be a little bit faster, because it's a little too slow for me right now. And I did that initially to lean a little bit more into the like Souls-like instead of the action RPG, like the hack and slash side of things. But I think because I was thinking the hack and slash part, you need like a lot more like fancy effects and whatever. But the more I think about it and the more I playtest my own game, I'm like, I don't know. It feels like making a functioning Souls-like is actually more difficult than making a functioning hack and slash, because with hack and slash you can get away with just like spawning in a metric fuck ton of particles and it'll feel a lot better as a result. With a Souls-like, the animations actually need to be good. And between the two of them, I am more likely to be able to like make functioning particle systems to make things feel good than making actual animations. So I think making it more fast-paced animations, so the combos come out a little bit quicker, makes me feel a little bit more satisfying, is also going to just be easier to make feel good. Because I feel like this is just generally too slow. It's trying to lean in a little bit too much for the... Well, that crashed the game. It leans in a little bit too much into the Souls-like, and I think the action RPG thing in general, as I said earlier in the stream, doesn't really play into my strengths. Then between the two of them, like the original idea was to make a game that feels like Kingdom Hearts in my style. And it's moved away from that towards a Souls-like. And I think for like the atmosphere of the game, that is exactly what I'm going for. But for the game feel, I actually think steering it a little bit back more towards the hack and slash thing like Kingdom Hearts is probably the better thing for me to do with my skill set. It's more of the original vision for the game. And that's only the 2 points. I was saying, do I have a third point? No, that's actually the only two things. It's like the original vision, and I think I can do a better job at it. Mostly due to the reason that I mentioned before, where I honestly feel like in a Souls-like, your shit needs to actually be good. In a hack and slash, if something isn't very good, you can kind of obfuscate that with just like screen shake and particles. So yeah. That's kind of the thing that I'm thinking about right now. Are you doing any warping or lock-on? Yeah. So it's probably not very obvious if you just watch footage. But what happens is, I'm not going to open up the screen or the project again. So what happens is, if the player is right here and has got like a bunch of enemies around it, you have a hard lock-on system, which... no, let me explain this otherwise. You've got a hard lock-on and a soft lock-on. The soft lock-on is just, it locks onto whatever enemy is nearest you. At any point in the game, you can, I think, press R1 or whatever. Again, 1000% copied from how Kingdom Hearts works. And that will lock on, hard lock on, to the enemy that you're currently soft locked on. Not soft locked as in game frozen, but as in the nearest enemy. At that point, even if you walk further away from it and another enemy is nearer, you're going to be locked on to whatever your lock-on target is. And whenever you attack, you move in the direction of that enemy. So by default, whenever you attack, you're just going to be moving in the direction of whatever enemy is nearest to you, unless you're hard locked onto another enemy, in which case you will move toward the enemy that you are hard locked on. That was actually kind of tricky to get right, because initially that meant even if you are right over here, you would almost entirely like get this distance when you attack, meaning that you effectively just teleport to wherever the enemy is. That felt a little too much. So right now it is... it does two things, I believe. I would have to look at the code. It's been a while. But it's... it clamps your distance that you're allowed to travel to a maximum. And if the enemy is closer than that maximum, it also uses that distance in the calculation of how much power it should like dash toward with. So effectively, what happens is it's always going to just bring you just up close to the enemy, unless the enemy is outside of a certain range, at which point you just get sent to like the clamped distance. So that is how the locking works. Because without it, it's a horrible experience. Like it's definitely like my initial like prototype that I made in Unity at this point, well over a year ago. Probably coming up on 2 years ago. I didn't have any locking for the longest time, and it felt horrendous to play. Right now, it still feels stiff to play, but that's mostly due to an animation thing. The combat code is pretty solid, I would say. Hack and slash direction would be a lot easier. There's so many ways to hide. Yeah, exactly. It's just like, it doesn't feel good. In a Souls-like, you need to start worrying about like specific timing and animations and the size of the animation, as in like how big is this movement, and when you change the timing of an animation, or even like the size of an animation in some cases, that impacts actual like gameplay experience, because an animation that comes out slower is suddenly going to need to have another upside, like more damage output or whatever. And that is also true in hack and slash to a certain extent, but much less. You can just say, it doesn't feel quite right. Let's make this animation a little bit faster. Oh, it looks a little bit janky. You know what we'll do? This animation will just also have like a light flash happening when you do this attack, which means that you can't see half of the shit that's happening anyway. The other side to that is that you need to have more enemies on screen. With a Souls-like, you have like 5, 6, 7 enemies on screen at any given point, for the most part. And every single one of those is like a miniature boss fight in and of itself, right? And with a hack and slash, you generally, I feel that the enemies are a lot stupider, which is also good for like having to program their AI, to be fair. And there's just a lot more of them. But that means that their pathing needs to be a little bit more intelligent instead of their behavior. And let me tell you, Unreal's built-in pathing system is just a little stupid a lot of the times. Like, it just... I've had issues where it always tries to just get the straightest path. That makes sense. I really need to figure out more about the navigation system in Unreal, because if there's like a hole in the nav mesh here, what it ends up doing is it ends up like doing this, while it would feel more natural to do something like this, right? Make a curve instead of 2 right angles. And the worst part is, sometimes it doesn't do it like this. It does it more like this, right? And sometimes it's stupid enough to get stuck on a place where there's no nav mesh, and it just hangs out there because it got itself stuck outside of the nav mesh. Like, what the actual hell? Navigation is an issue, and when you have more enemies around, you do want some more intelligent navigation. So that is an issue that I need to solve, but I don't know. That feels like a we'll get to it in the future kind of problem, to be honest with you. Still not sure how I want to handle combat. It's currently like third-person Morrowind. Yeah, that's kind of how I would describe my initial combat as well, where it feels like very janky. Root motion warping doesn't feel good though. For me, it kind of works because I'm like when my character Dragon Balls all over the place. Not in like a teleporting way, but like if he isn't grounded the entire time, that's fine for me. Like having a little bit more of a floaty combat feel for my game is fine. If you want to have a more grounded kind of combat, like you probably are limited in what you can do with root motion. At least like the warping of the root motion. You can do root motion animation, which still does help, but it's going to make the entire thing a lot more complex. So I don't envy you in that regard. Like that sounds like a pain. Less brains to the AI path, but pathing and optimization is a lot more work. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like the behavior trees for a Dark Souls enemy would look a lot more like the behavior trees I have for my bosses at the moment, which is still relatively small scale, to be honest, but like there's something happening there, like quite a lot when it comes down to it. Well, for the most part, what the enemies do is, hey, player here, me move to player, me close to player, me attack. This is an attack. There's an axe. It's attacking the player. That's kind of what most of their AI boils down to. Like, I've got one enemy that does the opposite. That's like, oh fuck, the player is in my immediate vicinity. I'm gonna get the hell out of here. So the player needs to chase him. I've got that one enemy that you saw that like just kind of does this, but he also wanders around. So when he's not actively chasing you, or when he's like somewhere else, every so often he will teleport just right in front of you and do an attack. So there's a little bit of variation in their AI, and it needs to be. But it's very minimal. And I think, like, I'm just going to have to put, like, 20 enemies in a room to make the challenge. But that also comes down to, like, balancing of the actual, like, damage values and all that kind of stuff. And how much does an enemy stun you when you attack him. Like, how bad is it to be knocked back? There's a lot to it. And sometimes it's good to just take a step away and start making a card game trading simulator thing, just to have a little bit of fun. So, bringing in the Pyro Software MS Paint action. Yeah, I really like this little tool where you can just like you can zoom in, so I can show stuff a little bit easier on stream, like I'm talking about sprite. But it also gives you this MS Paint. Indeed, pirate software style things where you can just like draw on the screen a little bit and you can like make your point. It's an excellent streamer tool. As a matter of fact, it's made my life so much easier because I also use it in videos now. I used to, when I made videos, I used to, like, in editing, zoom in on the screen to show things a little bit better. And then at some point I was like, I'm just going to stop doing that. Because it takes a lot of time, and I feel like most people, like, as bad as this sounds, right? People aren't going to not watch if I don't do it. I feel. Like, people will appreciate it more if I do it. But it's probably not going to cost me any views or watch time if I don't do it. And I'm, like, very busy. So that extra, like, hour a week, I'd rather spend doing something else. But now that I have this tool where I can just zoom into the screen, I don't need to do it in editing. I can do it in recording, and it's just there. And it's amazing. And I can even draw on the screen. So, yeah. Love this tool. It's called Zoom It. I'll type it in chat. It's called Zoom It. It is amazing. I love it. I don't know, editing for mine, it's too much work. Yeah, exactly. It's just... It's just so... It's just too much work for something that, like, doesn't actually impact anything. But yeah, Zoom It. It's from Microsoft itself. So I think it's like it's a little bit of a sketchy looking website, so make sure that you get the right one. But it's a Microsoft domain, I'm pretty sure. So just so that you download the right one. Anyway, I'm going to head out now. It's been fun just developing here a little bit. It's been fun just hanging out a little bit. And I'll be back on Thursday with whatever the hell is going wrong with this card stacking thing. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just thinking about... Again, this is just a side project, right? This is not supposed to take like 2 months of development. I'm just thinking, maybe we won't do card stacking. Maybe every card will just be its own individual thing in your inventory. And it will just be a mess. Maybe that's just what we'll do. I don't know. I'm going to be thinking about it during work tomorrow, and we'll have an answer on Thursday. Until then, thanks everybody, and I'm going to be heading out. Bye.